What is poppin' YouTube? Back again with another video. Today we're doing my trade for targets as well as trade away targets for week 3 fantasy football. If you are new to the channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Typically we've got a little bit better of a setup, but we are traveling right now, but we got to get this content out for you guys because fantasy football never sleeps. So let's go. So my first player I would be trying to target this week is Ja'Marr Chase. When we're looking at Ja'Marr Chase, put up 10 fantasy points in week 1, put up about 9 fantasy points in week 2. Now you can attribute that to the Bengals' lack of offense, but the thing that we're not going to attribute to is Ja'Marr Chase not being good at football, because we've seen him each and every year produce very solid fantasy football points when we're talking about Ja'Marr Chase in the top 3, top 4 wide receiver. Now if there's someone in your league that's a little bit worried about Ja'Marr Chase and about a situation, for sure, go offer up some second round players. I'd be willing to offer up someone like an AJ Brown type to go out and get Ja'Marr Chase, maybe even Chris Olave in a small piece. Like, those are the type of trades that I'm trying to do, because we know Ja'Marr Chase, when you have him in your lineup, he's an absolute point per game difference maker, and that's what we're targeting in our leagues. Our second player we're going to be trying to target is AJ Brown. Last week didn't look so great on the fantasy board, but if you watch the game, you know that there was that touchdown that AJ Brown caught from Jalen Hurts that got called back due to holding. If that touchdown goes to AJ Brown and it doesn't go to DeAndre Swift, which it ended up going to on that drive, we're talking about AJ Brown having 15, 16 fantasy points on the day. We're also talking about Jalen Hurts having 8 more fantasy points that day. And it's really just, we're looking at the Eagles offense, we're like, it's cooking as usual. But since that did not happen and DeAndre Swift had himself a day, people might be a little bit sour on AJ Brown. I'm willing to go get some AJ Brown. Same as I think. Chris Olave, maybe like a Keenan Allen plus something to go up and get AJ Brown. Those are deals that I'm trying to do. Get that difference maker on your team. Get that stud. Those are players that I would be looking to trade for AJ Brown. We then moved to Calvin Ridley, who only had 4 fantasy points this last week. It wasn't great for Calvin Ridley. We've been on Calvin Ridley. We hyped him up after week 1, and then he let us down in week 2. But I believe that week 1 performance is a lot more normal, and that's what you're going to be seeing on a week in and week out basis from Calvin Ridley compared to what happened this last week. So go see what it's going to take to get Calvin Ridley. Definitely offer up a wide receiver that you may be drafted in round 4 or 5 or 6. And potentially someone that has Calvin Ridley. They saw the amazing performance in the first half. They saw the second half performance in week 1 and got a little bit worried. And then that continued here in week 2. I would go see if I could go trade Calvin Ridley, because I think Calvin Ridley is going to be an absolute difference maker on your squad. We're then going to move to our next trade target, which is going to be Breece Hall. When you're going after Breece Hall, you understood the fact that his ACL, they're still bringing him back very slowly. This last week, with only getting 9 touches, Alvin Cook didn't look good at all. And I think that's what the exciting news is for Breece Hall, is that when he's able to get the full workload, when he's able to get 20 total touches in a week, Breece Hall could be a big difference maker for you. But until that moment happens, they're just slowly bringing him along. So Breece Hall would be someone that I'm also trying to target, because we saw that elite level athleticism. We saw that elite level speed, even though it was week 1 and he's still recovering from the ACL tear that he suffered a year ago. My last player that I'm targeting is Chris Godwin. Mike Evans has been getting all the buzz out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers system because of the way that he's getting those long touchdowns, he's getting those long receptions. For Chris Godwin, we've been talking each and every day about how Chris Godwin is Baker Mayfield's glorified Jarvis Landry. And Chris Godwin is getting the targets, it just hasn't translated to touchdowns and or a lot of yards after the catch. So I'm going to go by Chris Godwin, because the metrics in Tampa Bay, where we were saying that Tampa Bay was not a good offense this year, I'm really high on Chris Godwin, and I will continue to be high on Chris Godwin. Now you're going to ask me, okay, Caleb, so you gave me some great trade targets, but who are some guys that you're looking to sell high? I think Kenneth Walker III is a perfect candidate for a guy that I'm willing to sell high right now, because if we remember, Kenneth Walker, kind of a dead zone running back, especially after they drafted Zach Charbonnet in the draft back in April. We can look at what happened this whole summer, and people were still pushing Kenneth Walker down the board. If there's no Zach Charbonnet in that backfield, Kenneth Walker is drafted in the 2nd round. But since Zach Charbonnet got drafted, got pushed down to the 5th round. And the thing is, we've seen Kenneth Walker still get a majority of the touches in this backfield the first 2 weeks. Gets a lot of people excited. But like we've said with these rookie running backs, they drafted Zach Charbonnet in the 2nd. They're continuing to give him more looks, give him more work as the season rolls along. So I'm willing to sell Kenneth Walker high right now to maybe get someone in the same range. We're talking guys like in the 4th range. If I can flip Kenneth Walker and go get myself a Jahmyr Gibbs, go get myself a Breece Hall, those are guys that I'm trying to go get with Kenneth Walker, because I know that those guys' workloads, as the season progresses, they're just going to continue to get more work, where Kenneth Walker is going to start to share the backfield a lot with Zach Charbonnet. We move on to my next sell high trade candidate is going to be Raheem Mostert. I love me some Raheem Mostert. He's 31 years old. He had that amazing no one touched him touchdown run where he ran 45 yards. The thing that we do have to remember about Raheem Mostert is he is 31, and we still have a lot of unclarifying situations. There's some really good running backs out in free agency that I'd absolutely love to sign with the Miami Dolphins, like a Kareem Hunt, like a Lenny Fournette. And then there's also all the rumors with still swirling around Jonathan Taylor to the Miami Dolphins. So as much as I love some Raheem Mostert, if I can sell him and maybe get into a player that's a little bit safer, someone like a Rashad White type, that would be the type of trade that I would be trying to do for Raheem Mostert. And even if you have to package Raheem Mostert and another maybe later wide receiver to just move up in the running back ranks, I'd also be willing to do that. Raheem Mostert is a sell high candidate for me this week. Another sell high candidate is going to be Gabe Davis. We've been off the Gabe Davis train for a while, but he had a nice week. He did have a nice week. I mean, connected with Josh Allen, get those deep shots. They need another wide receiver next to Stephon Diggs. I just don't think it's Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis shows us these flashes and then goes missing for weeks on end. So if you can flip Gabe Davis for anyone else in that 7th round range that you probably draft, 7th or 8th round range that you drafted in, we're talking these later round wide receivers. Like if I could flip Gabe Davis and go get myself an Elijah Moore, like that would be something that I'd be willing to do for Gabe Davis. So these are some trade for targets and some trade against targets for week 3 fantasy football. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you so much for tuning in here today. Continue to put out content each and every day, even though we're traveling. Hopefully tomorrow's video, we're back in our usual setup. So appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.